So how do we nurture our divine essence? So men are in our society very encouraged and allowed to nurture their essences because our society and our world is a very masculine world. So they fit in. And we may not always fit in. We being me as a feminine energy person. I don't know how all of you identify. I have some sense. But we all, men and women who identify as masculine, we all need more feminine energy in our lives. This is kind of what I see as the problem with the world. We all need that softness, that being, that stillness, that tranquility, expression of, artistic side, softness, surrender, openness. We all need more of that. So how do we nurture that, and how does that show up? How does that make our relationships show up differently? So when we change one side of a relationship, the whole relationship will shift. It's a law. It's a law of the universe. You change one thing in a dynamic, the other must change. And so if you nurture more what your core essence is, so in my case, feminine energy, then my partner has the ability to show up more masculine, and then that creates that polarity. He shows up more masculine, I show up more feminine, because that allows me to be more in my feminine because he's filling the masculine role. And vice versa, when I show up more feminine, he can step into that role and he doesn't have to compete with me with my masculinity. When we feel that attraction to our partner, the polarity is there, guaranteed. You don't even have to question it. But when you feel that polarity neutralize a little bit and you're like, ugh, like, can you not? Or like, that's just so irritating. And whereas yesterday that thing he's doing or they're doing wasn't irritating, but today it's irritating. So do you think they changed the way they did that irritating thing? No, it's your perception of it. And what's happening is your polarity has neutralized. So you are becoming more harsh and hardened, and like that irritation is you coming out of your essence and becoming more like what you're not. And you're butting up against theirs. So that feeling of like, oh, I'm so irritated and he never does anything and he's always and he's never and ugh, and that feeling is your femininity being completely depleted. So what I tell my clients is, when you feel that, immediately self-care, acute self-care. You go away, walk away, and focus on you. Because that old saying, whenever there's one finger pointing at someone else, there's three pointing back. So it's how you're showing up in the dynamic that's causing that irritation, not the thing that they're doing. Does that make sense to everyone? Awesome. Any questions so far?
So how do you balance the female, this moment when you have the thing is, oh my God, why is not being more like men
Yes.
type of thing?
Yeah.
Like how do you get the balance back? You know what I'm saying?
You mean innerly in yourself or in your relationship?
In the relationship. Why like how can I move myself from that moment of feeling, oh, I need them to be more like that?
Yeah. So it's very easy for us women in our society now, especially many of us have our own businesses, to come home into our relationship from whatever we are doing and bring that masculinity that we needed for the day's work. So, and many of us have had traumas that cause us to be more in the masculine because it feels more controlled, right? We were told stuff when we were little and then vowed to ourselves, I'm never going to let that happen again. I'm going to control everything in my life. So we've nurtured, and masculinity is more valued in this world. So when we show up in the world in a masculine way, it's valued. I'm making CEO of this and this company and I'm a woman. That's so great. You're equal to men. And yes, it's important to be equal to men, but we're not equal. We're actually so different. Well, some people think our feminine force on its own is so powerful. We don't need to be like them. We don't need to be equal to them. We are so powerful on our own, and we need to stand in our own light and not try to be equal or the same or measure up, because we are not smaller, thinner, less hairy men with boobs. We are not. We are women, completely separate entities from men. So this is what's happening in our society. So our society is a very masculine energy. Even living in Toronto, it's all, like concrete jungle and like go, 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 and people are honking at you when you're driving or almost kill you when you're crossing the street, and it's this like masculine force like overtaking. And it's really, really important, in order to get your polarity back, just come back to the feminine. Come back to the feminine. And it's a practice. It's literally a daily practice. I practice coming back to my femininity every single day, and even throughout moments of the day. So I start off with a practice, and then I get in my masculine ness. And then, okay, I got to bring it back. I keep flowing in and out. And that's not wrong. It's not bad to be in your masculine. It's just so much easier. That's why focusing on bringing it all back to the feminine every time will create that polarity back in your relationship.
So can you give us some example about coming back to the feminine? What is it that we need to do?
Yeah, there are feminine practices, and then there are feminine environments. So we are currently in a very feminine environment. We have all women around us. It's that circle of women, that circle of goddesses, right? That we have learned about or read about or think about or imagine. That, and when you go out and have lunch with a girlfriend, that's that feeling. You're enhancing your own feminine energy. You're building upon it together. It just flows into that connection. And so the more we connect with other women, the more we enhance our own essence. So, and the happy side effect of that is that women have, I should have looked it up, but I don't know, like something like 8 times more words in a day than a man. So if we connect with other women and we're like, oh, blah, 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 and this, and I got these shoes, and my husband this, and oh, the groceries, and I was at the store, and then you don't have to tell your husband everything, or your partner. And we all know they get overwhelmed with all our words, right? They're just like, oh my God, and they try so hard, but they can't be another woman for us, and we shouldn't expect them to be. So communion with other women, anything to do with nature, your work is very nature-based. We learned in CAP about forest bathing. I thought it was literally you go, like someone sets up a bath for you and you go and have a bath in the forest. And
it sounds great.
It sounds amazing, but really what it is you're bathing yourself with the forest. Like you're going for a deep immersion in the forest and being with that energy. So nature, going for a 10-minute walk, parking a little bit farther before going to your job. Like, people think, oh, I have to book this thing on the weekend to go be in nature. No, like every day. And even if you're walking from your car to your office door, there's like little flowers along the way. Look at them, appreciate them, be with them, feel their energy. The best is like sticking your feet in the ocean or any kind of water, or on the ground, like really connecting with Mother Earth. Those kinds of things. But if you can't, then don't let that be a barrier and say, oh, I can't do, barefoot because it's minus 40 and so now I'm not going to go outside. No, like the quick walk from your car to your door in the freeze, feel that cold on your skin. Anyway, right? So nature. Nurturing your feminine essence on a day-to-day basis is going inward. Meditation, if you're into that. Some people have a big block around meditating. I did for a long time. Some days I do. That's okay. Sitting still with yourself, having a 5-minute longer shower than you normally would. Enjoy the sensuality of the water touching your skin. That alone can rejuvenate your femininity and just get you back in touch with it.